Welcome back to another top 10. I honestly, I should not have said I was going to do this every day up until the end of the year. But you know what? It's fine. Because God, this is it's making me work. It's making me have to do a lot of things. But today what we're doing is the top 10 worst anything of 2022. Not 2021, 2022. Now, when I say worst anything, I mean worst anything, where it be movie. Actually, this list is only movies, anime, TV shows, video games, stuff like that. But just worst. The worst things, anything that I played this year, whether it came out this year or not, the worst. And yeah, none of these are really ordered. I'm just kind of going to rattle them off because it's hard to choose worst, except the first one I'm going to mention because I think objectively it's not bad, but I personally didn't enjoy it, and that's Horizon Zero Dawn. Um, me personally, I didn't enjoy this game. I didn't like it at all. I think the open world is pretty. I think it's a pretty looking game. It's a very pretty game, but I wasn't a massive fan of the story because I feel like it just didn't capture me. It didn't grasp me to tell me to keep playing. I did not like the combat at all. I think the combat is one of the worst parts about this game. The combat is just not good. I feel like some of those enemies and those like battles kind of get repetitive at some point because of that combat, and that's why I just don't. I don't really like this game. I didn't really enjoy it. I have no desire to pick up Horizon Forbidden West. Like I beat Zero Dawn. I was like, okay, next, because I was just like, no. And it took me a while to beat this game because I just wasn't feeling it. Next up, rattle off the list: Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. Um, once again, I wouldn't even say this movie was like terrible. It's better than Crimes of Grindelwald, that's for sure. But I wouldn't even say it's terrible. I would just say it was just boring. There's just nothing really interesting happened. There was nothing in there that was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like firmly grasped me. That's like it was just an extremely boring game. Not game, movie, and it's not something I would recommend to anybody because of that. I wouldn't recommend the Fantastic Beasts series as a whole. Like I think the first one is pretty good. Crimes of Grindelwald is hot garbage, and this one's just kind of boring. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend it as like a full like series. Like just go watch Harry Potter. That's like way better. I love Harry Potter. It's one of my favorite movie series of all time. But this kind of ruins it in a way, and I hate it. Next up, we'll go Umbrella Academy season 3. Now let me tell you about this show. Season 3 of this show is hot garbage. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I don't think there's the fact that they combined two Umbrella Academy stories they they because if I remember correctly, there's like 4 volumes of that. Um the original there's the original volume, which is Apocalypse Suite, which would have been season 1, and then Dallas, which is season 2. That's volume 2, I'm pretty sure. And then after that was Hotel Oblivion, and then Sparrow Academy, and they kind of combine. Those were their own separate volumes, if I remember correctly. I don't quite remember correctly. I had to look it up later, but they kind of combined those into one season. And I was when they at the end of that season when they said end of season 2 they said they're doing the Sparrow Academy next. I was like, uh that's very debatable. And then halfway through the season, you realize the hotel they're staying in was Hotel Oblivion. And you're just like, I'm not sure about this one. And it kind of didn't work for me. It kind of was just like a mismatch of a whole bunch of things. And as well as, I hated Allison. I hated Allison so much. I think Allison in Umbrella Academy season 3 is just so bad. Like, she's just a bad character. Um, Overall, I mean, here's the thing, right? That whole thing with Luther and her forcing herself onto Luther was just uncomfortable, just not a good scene to begin with. But I think that entire thing about Allison just being the worst, like just being the biggest jerk on earth throughout this entire thing when it comes to um, Vanya transitioning into Victor, or just the entire the entire thing that happened, like everything that happened was how she was just so self centered and so selfish. Where whereas freaking Diego technically had a kid at that point, and it's like he turned from like the selfish individual that I think was done way better than Allison, but the selfish individual into a loving and caring father that I kind of got his character arc this entire season was great. Same thing with Klaus. His character arc this season was great. I think that just had him reconnecting with his father because he was treated so horribly by his father when he was younger. This alternate version of him is this alternate version of him treats him way better, and he learns to bond with him. Up until things go horribly wrong, but he learns to bond with him, right? And then Luther and what was her name, Sloane. I think that was genuinely like a good relationship. The entire thing, I wouldn't say it's amazing. It's a good relationship. Victor, that entire plot line, I thoroughly enjoyed. I myself can't personally relate to it, but I really enjoyed how they did that and how that worked and how seamlessly it was the transition was. It was honestly it was really good. Once again, I can't really relate, but from what I saw, it wasn't. To me, at least, it wasn't really offensive in any way. And there are definitely some characters that I don't remember. Like five was really good in the season. And there's some other characters I definitely don't remember, but those were like the standouts for me. But then Allison was just the worst part. It's just the worst part in every episode. And I just hated it. I ranted about it on Twitter once. It was just bad. It was bad. It was bad. I'm gonna stop talking about this. I'm gonna move on. I've been talking about this for too long. Next up, what have we not talked about? We'll go with Vampire Knight. Okay, so this is an anime that came out 10-15 years ago at this point. And the reason why I watched this show is because one of my friends, I was bored one day. I asked a couple of friends for shows to watch, and I was bored and sick. Then one of my friends gave me this show. I was like, it gave me this and another show that didn't make this list, Black Butler. And I like to think I could trust her enough most of the time, and she gave me the show, and it was horrible. And I know she gave it to me just so I could watch a horrible show. It was terrible. And the worst part is, I actually really I kind of enjoyed season one. The thing is, it's anime Twilight, but better because I don't like Twilight. I hate Twilight. But I watched this episode. It's anime Twilight, but better. It's just a whole bunch of people thirsting over vampires. That's all season one is. But it's like a guilty pleasure because I kind of enjoyed it. Vampire Knight Guilty, aka season 2, whatever it was called, it was just bad. It was just bad. It's anime Twilight, but worse than Twilight, and I don't know how that happened from one season to another. It's just bad. Like all the plot points, everything was like zero. I think that's what his name was, and whatnot, and the whole thing with the main character being the freaking sister of another character, and there, I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. I don't do incest plots at all. Like no. And funny enough, we'll get to that in a bit. But I don't do incest plots at all. Or at least I don't really get much enjoyment out of them. Once again, special case. We'll get to that in a bit. But like that entire plot line, I was just like, no, don't do that. I don't like that. Like stop, shush, never do that again. And I get the logic. I get the logic that they explained in the show. I understand the logic. Me personally, though, I don't like it. And that's about it. Next up, let's actually shoot back to a game. Let's go Crossfire X. That was a voice crack. Crossfire X. Now, let me give you some background. I played the first Crossfire X beta in 2019, 2020, whenever it first came out. Whenever that beta first happened. And I really enjoyed myself. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. I think there are mechanics that weren't amazing, but for the most part, I had a lot of fun. Fast forward to February of this year, and Crossfire X, the full game, comes out, and it is horrendous. It's terrible. It's just a bad FPS. And I don't know what happened. The game controls like just hot garbage. It's not as fun as I remember. The guns control like hot garbage. The entirety of that game is hot garbage. I don't know what happened. Because when I first played it, I was like, oh, this is fun. This is enjoyable. And then I played it again. I was like, what happened? And for more context, I played Battlefield 2042 for the first time this year because I originally was gonna get it last year. I just didn't, but I played it for the first time this year when it came out on Game Pass, and I enjoyed myself. I had fun. It's still not a great game, and I can imagine I probably would have enjoyed myself even earlier if I had played it while it was a glitchy, broken mess, because that would have been funny to me. This game was just bad all around. It was just horrible. It was horrendous. I would just not recommend anybody playing this. I don't see this coming. I don't see this lasting more than like another year or two, if that. Like it's just not gonna be around in a while. I hated it so much. Yeah, don't play this game. Let's go back to another movie. Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't think I need to really talk about this one because I made a quick review on this movie. I made a quick review on this movie. Long story short, it's just bad. I think one of the things that they did with this movie that I hated was that they saw the comedy from Thor Ragnarok and how that went over, because that went over pretty well, and they just went fully in on that, and it was just a bad movie overall, right? It was just bad. I just would not recommend this to anybody. It was just bad because all those like emotional moments that you would have gotten in that movie were just ruined by jokes. They were just in favor of, it was just like replaced in favor of a joke. And they have freaking Christian Bale, who's won like too many high prestigious awards to count. Played Gore the God Butcher. He's barely on the screen for like 45 minutes. And the fact that this movie has a short runtime doesn't help, but he's barely on the screen. He's not butchering any gods like promised. And it's like, what happened? What went wrong? And I can understand why Chris Hemsworth said they'd have to take it into a different direction for Thor 5 in order to get him to play the character again. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to film an entire movie that's just jokes. Like that's all this movie was. I wouldn't want to do that. Like just no. This movie was just bad in every way possible. All right, next on we will talk about. Let's go back to another game, Final Four actually. Um, so the last two games that are on this list, I'll talk about the other one a bit later. The last two games that are on this list are both games that I played on my second channel. One that I beat and one that I didn't. So go check those out if you want to see my full opinions on those or watch the entirety of my suffering for those. The one that I completed was Yakuza 3 Remastered. And if you know me, if you know me in my second channel, I've been playing all of the Yakuza games on stream. I played Yakuza 0, Kiwami 2, 3, 4. I want to play 5 soon. I have Judgment installed on my Xbox. I'm probably gonna get Lost Judgment on PS5. Like it's I really enjoy Yakuza all in all. However, Yakuza 3 out of all of them was just horrible. Like I think Kiwami 2 was fine. I think that game is just largely ruined by the ending being just plot twist the ending, because the entirety of that last like 45 minutes to an hour of that game is just plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, and I hate it. But the time getting there was enjoyable. I will say that's why that game was fine. Yakuza 3 was just bad overall, right? It's another like Crossfire X situation where the combat just wasn't good. The story was horrendous. The mini games weren't fun. The side stories weren't fun. The freaking golf mini game was quite possibly one of the worst games ever made. Like the entirety of this game is just bad. It's just a bad game, and that's why I was kind of feeling the Yakuza burnout when I got to Yakuza 4, because like I was like, when I got to Yakuza 4, I was like, I've played so many Yakuza games over and over and over again with like one game in between. Like, the order of how I played these games on my second channel was like, Tell Me Why, Detroit Become Human, Yakuza 0, a game that I'm not going to mention because it's on this list, Yakuza Kiwami. After that was Coffee Talk, then Yakuza Kiwami 2, then Devil May Cry 5, and then Yakuza 3. Like, I've played so many games in between the Yakuza games. Each of them have been very short. Devil May Cry 5 is like a 15-hour game. It's not that, like, 15-hour or less game. It's not that long at all. And so that's why when it came to like Yakuza 3 and Yakuza 4, in between I played another short game and I hit that Yakuza Burnout because I played Ash Dust Falls and that game is very short. It's just another story, like a choice-based game. And I hit that Yakuza Burnout because I was like, I'm playing like short games in between the freaking massive Yakuza games. So it just feels like I'm playing Yakuza games all the time. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's just bad. Bad. But Yakuza 4 ended up like starting out to be kind of meh, but ended on a high note. I love the ending of Yakuza 4. I love those last couple of hours with Tanimura and Kiryu. Those are like probably some of the best moments of that game were just that last couple of hours with those two characters. And so yeah, long story short, Yakuza 3, that burnout is what led me into just not playing, into just like breaking the cycle and not doing like another game in Yakuza and then another game in Yakuza for a little bit. It's why I played, after Yakuza 4, I played God of War on the channel. I played Crisis Core on the channel, and my next series is not going to be Yakuza. The one after that is going to be Yakuza, but the next one's not going to be Yakuza. So, yeah, it's unfortunate how that game ended up, but yeah, that's it is what it is. Next up, okay, let's talk about, I think, objectively one of the worst movies of this year, Morbius. What's to be said about this movie that hasn't been said? They took a mid to low tier Spider-Man villain and made its own movie about. Got them their own movie starring Jared Leto, and it was just bad. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It was just bad. Like the story, the action, the CG, the visual effects. I'm not even going to stick on this one for too long. It was just a bad movie. That's all you need to know. The memes that came out of it were very funny, but it was just a bad movie. Last two things I want to talk about. Let's talk about the last anime on this list. Now, this show is like a guilty pleasure for me. I think it's objectively bad. However, I really enjoyed it because actually the anime ended. I went and read the manga. It's objectively bad, but I really enjoyed it from like a trash standpoint. This is Domestic Girlfriend. And I think the reason why I enjoyed this so much is because I just really enjoyed watching the train wreck that was this manga. That was this anime, that was this manga. Because I read the manga. I went and read the manga, like all of it. I finished the manga. And it was just a train wreck the entire way through. It was just horrid. It was horrible. But that being said, I still really enjoyed it. And the incest plot is still bad. It's still bad. It's still not good. But like the plot is like it involves like these two characters sleeping with each other for reasons, and then that one character ends up moving in with him because his dad got married or engaged or whatnot to her mom, making her the guy's stepsister, and her sister is the teacher that the guy really has a crush on, and the entire show is just it's just a train wreck. It's horrible. It is a train wreck, but I really enjoyed it because I just love seeing it fall apart. I just love seeing it fall apart the entire way through. Just yelling at my screen like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I reading this? It was just funny. I think if you were going this without like the mindset, like the open mindset that I had, because I didn't know about this going in, I didn't know about a decent about this going into it. But if you don't go into this with the open mindset that I have, you would not enjoy the show at all. You just won't. It's not good. Objectively, it's not good. But I enjoyed it from a guilty pleasure standpoint. It was just a train wreck, and I love seeing it. Number one, let me talk about probably possibly the worst game that I played this year. The game that doesn't actually have terrible reviews, but it's a game that I just did not finish on my second channel. I say when I said this list wasn't ordered, I take that back. This is the worst thing I've ever had to go through this year. Daemon X Machina. Oh boy, I think it's the way I played this game because for some reason, right, for issue off the bat, my controller just did not want to work, or rather, the controllers were just the controls like how you use your controller was just bad. Like, it was just bad. It was just uncomfortable. It didn't work for me, and I personally just did not enjoy it at all. I just didn't. And the graphics were just killed my eyes. I think a lot of that has to do with like colors and color saturation, all that. Just absolutely destroyed my eyes. And the story wasn't all that. And mecha combat was just horrible to the point where there was this one boss fight that I spent an obscenely long amount of time on, because that combat was just terrible. Because the combat I hated. Like, I've never hated a combat system more than the combat system in Daemon X Machina. Which is unfortunate because I was actually looking forward to playing this game. But I've never had a combat system that was worse than Daemon X Machina. I've never experienced something like that. It is unfortunate because I had high hopes for this game. But yeah, this game is just overall bad. I just would not play it. I would not recommend you play it. Like I say, like there are games that I've played that have just been very bad. Like I claim like the 3 worst games I've ever played. This is actually saying something. I like games that I just had horrible experiences with are Yakuza 3 Remastered, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, and that's his own thing. That's another topic for another day. And Daemon X Machina. All of them are just terrible, and I can't believe I experienced 2 of them this year. And that's pretty much the list. Hope you enjoyed. Once again, these are purely my opinion. If you enjoyed the things on this list, or at least I don't know how you enjoyed some of them, but if you enjoyed the things on this list, then sorry, it's just what I think. See you next time. Bye.